there were fans who were pissed off about Vancouver on Saturday night. And I'm less mad. I'm looking at that as an aggregate thing. You are away for that long. They do suck against Vancouver. I'll grant you.
Man.
They're really bad against Vancouver.
They stink. It's bad.
But you won the first 3 games of the road trip and looked pretty strong in all of them. And Anthony Stolarz is back and looking like Anthony Stolarz.
Have the Leafs lost 3, won 3, lost 3, won 3, and then lost this one?
I don't remember.
It's ridiculous. Listen, yeah, you're right. Like, Stolarz to me is the biggest story out of all that.
Mm-hmm.
They've been kind of winning games all year. They're in this Atlantic Division goo, muck, whatever you want to call it, where they might win the division, they might get a wild card.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know. Again, like, I want them to be in every single game. I want them to win every game. That's obviously unreasonable. But all season long, I've been saying, all right, so this little chunk of games is over. Now you got to ramp up.
Right.
Now this little chunk of games is over. Now you got to ramp up. So it's like, all right, we hit Halloween. We hit American Thanksgiving. We hit Christmas. This is it. Like, this is really it. There's 7 games remaining. Look at it that way. It's a 7-game playoff series before the trade deadline.
That's not much.
No, and I had to. That blew my mind when I was talking about that.
I'm glad
in
you
the
brought that
LFR.
up. Wow.
Yeah, because there's like a month. It's just shy of a month until the trade deadline, but it's the shortest month. And also, there's like no games because of the Four Nation faceoffs. The Leafs have 7 games left. Your team might have less. They have 7 games left before the trade deadline. They better win 4 of 7 at least. And it needs to be their best hockey of the season until the next 7 games.
I have a question for you guys because we're talking about the first half of the season. I like how we're going over that. Great stuff, Adam.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you.
Steve, first of all, you're right about the 3 games, 3 losses, 3 wins, 3 losses, 3 wins, and then now they lost.
So silly.
They're guaranteed to lose against the Hurricanes and Blackhawks when they come back.
Right.
Damn.
Love it.
In a row.
Oh, I'm ready to be mad about the Blackhawks one.
Looking at where the Leafs are in the standings right now, 68 points behind Florida, who's got 71 points, but Toronto has 2 games in hand.
Ooh.
Should we be disappointed with where the Leafs are in the standings because of how easy their first half schedule was? If you haven't noticed, don't pay that deep attention to the Toronto Maple Leafs, their first half schedule was very light. This was the first time all season they had 3 consecutive games on the road.
Wow.
They hadn't had a 3-game road trip all season long until this week.
Wow.
Now the back half of the season is chocked full of games on the road.
Yeah.
They had a very easy November where they had a weird break in the middle of the schedule, and then they had a whole bunch of home games. And that was their opportunity to take advantage of the schedule from October through to the Four Nations break. Now you got a really tough condensed schedule with a bunch of road games from coming back from Four Nations to the end of the season. Should we be disappointed that they are not higher in the standings looking at how easy their schedule was?
It's tricky because I feel like they did dominate when their schedule was at their easiest, which was November, which like cartoonishly, I don't think I've ever seen anything like it.
No.
And we identified it before the season. I'm like, hey, so they like don't play.
Yeah, like what? Did somebody make a mistake?
Yeah. Like they don't play. So like it actually hurt my videos like in the algorithm because YouTube is like, oh, this guy like, just doesn't make videos very often.
You abandoned your channel.
And I'm like, no, wait, no. And it's taken time to ramp back up.
Yeah.
But then December comes and that's too many games. They played back-to-backs for 5 straight weeks, which is also crazy. I think the injury to Stolarz really hurt them because the drop off from him to whoever the third guy is stupendous. They've also had a lot of injuries. Like I brought up a stat in the LFR, if I remember it off the top of my head, the 6 guys who were out there for the 6-on-4 at the end of the game, 6 forwards. They're the Leafs' 6 top goal scorers. Mm-hmm. Combined, they have 128 goals. The rest of the lineup has 41.
Yeah.
Actually, the rest of the lineup has less than that. The rest of everyone who's played on the Leafs this season has 41. All 6 of those guys, though, have missed time. Matthews missed like a month. Marner, I know, missed at least one game. Willie missed at least one game. Tavares was out 2 different stretches, and he had the illness. McMahon was a healthy scratch at times. Nyes has been injured twice now. Who have I missed? Did I miss anyone? Oh, wait, Matthews.
Yeah, I think you got all the 6.
Yeah, I think I got them all.
Yeah.
All things considered, I think they've done, I wouldn't say like above expectations. I don't know if I'd say below expectations either. They have enough games left in the season to reclaim top spot. Who knows? Maybe all things equal, they play their next 2 games and they simply get those games in hand on Florida and they take the top spot. And it's hard to call first place disappointing. I go back to what I said about the Leafs when there were no expectations of them in their rookie year in the 2016-17 season.
The Caps' great playoff loss year.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we were talking about like coming down that stretch because the Leafs weren't playing so great, but Tampa had like no players left. And people were like, well, is it really disappointing if they don't make the playoffs this year? And a lot of people said, well, no, because they're all children. And mine was absolutely friggin' yes. They've been in the playoffs more days than they haven't been for the last like 2 months leading up to that point. So if they don't make the playoffs, it's because they choked and they lost it. So to me, I'll be a little disappointed if they don't get first place in the division because they've owned it for the lion's share of this season. The lion's share of the games that matter. I know it's a long, wishy-washy answer to what you asked.
It's very good.
Like they're not bad. Could be better.
I for one have been. I think the injuries are a thing. I think the underperformance of Morgan Riley is a thing. So the fact that if they're not underperforming, they're not overperforming. They're on track.
Jake McCabe. How many Leafs have played every game?
Very few. I can look that up, but yeah, not a lot.
I don't know if it's any of them.
And I mean, there has been a lot of shifting around. You're talking about a team that now is trying things with the roster that I would say they haven't been. How many games have been played total? Is it 55?
55 by the Leafs, yes.
So Riley, Nylander, Lorentz are the only 3 that have played all 55.
Nylander's played all 55? I could have swore he missed a game.
No, he's 55.
Oh, all right. No, I believe you, Adam, but damn.
Yeah.
All right.
So I don't know.
And Riley being in that group is, so really 2 guys.
Yeah.
Have played every game, and it's Lorentz and Nylander.
But Adam, you were answering the question.
Yeah, the question is essentially, if they are on track with all of that going on, I think I'm good with it. I do think, and I've said this before, I think that this is a year that you need to win the division. You need to win this division. This is a team that's done this 6 times in its entire history, and 5 of those times happened before the millennium.
The Lightning are lightninging.
4 of those times happened before 1967. And I think you've got to really consider the advantage that you have when you have that. Yes, they might have to play the Lightning. Yes, they might have to play the Bruins. Yes, they might have to play the Senators, who seem to have their number as well.
It's the playoffs.
But I don't know, man. It's the playoffs. There are no bad teams. So figure it out. And I think what also is playing into this, guys, and I have liked what I have seen overall. I know that there are some people that have some fears about the scoring and stuff, and I get that. I think they're very clearly missing a forward up front. This team is playing a vastly different style than they were playing last year. And I think adjusting to that has been very interesting to watch and exciting to watch. And I'm kind of curious to see how it plays out in the playoffs. And also they took goaltending seriously this year.
Oh, yeah.
And I just didn't see that from the previous management group and the way that they needed to. They this is we're talking about a management group that has Stollers and Woll both on cost-effective deals, not just this year, but next year too. Even when Woll's salary is at $4 million, he's a steal.
A hair over 6.
So
combined.
You look at this is a team that unironically dressed $8 million of Peter Mrazek and Matt Murray as their starting two.
Good.
And expected to do anything. Right? So I just feel like that is the that is the like went out and actively got both guys like they needed them. And that's where I'm sort of like, okay, this is going to ramp up, and what we're going to see now, that 7 games is going to be really interesting because I think you're going to need to know kind of what sort of what your top 6 looks like. Mm-hmm. You sort of know what your bottom 3 looks like. You need to know 15, 20 games out what that third line is supposed to look like. And they better get something done. This is not a...
We're basically there.
Well, this is not a, oh, maybe we'll make a move for a forward. If they go through that trade deadline without making a move for a centerman, it will be a failure.
Well,
it will.
And if Järnkrok's ready to go, he's got to play all 7 games.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know that he is. We haven't heard anything on that.
I know, like, no other fan base is staying up at night thinking about Calle Järnkrok, but, like, he is kind of important to this equation.
Yeah.
And if he does come back, I still think they need one.
Yeah, because he'll be 7 games in and no training camp.
7 games in, and at this point in his career, I just don't think he's a center.
There you go. Jesse, what about you? Same question.
I think the goal scoring, the different type of hockey thing you mentioned is important because I look at where they improved and fell from last year, and just on the goals against thing, they were 21st in the league in goals against last year, and they've hopped up to number 12. So they're just allowing a whole bunch of less goals. But last year they were second in the league in goals for, and they fall into 12th, which I feel like isn't as big of a deal as hopping up from 21 to 12 in the other category.
Yeah.
You know, you're winning in a whole completely different style. You'd love to stay second in goals for and also be way up there in goals against, but you can't have your cake and eat it too unless you're the Winnipeg Jets. So I feel like looking at the whole season and knowing that they are not a complete team, you got to be. I think you put it perfectly in your long-winded answer, in that they kind of fulfilled expectations.
Yes.
Yes.
It's not that they failed based on the schedule or that they exceeded where they should be. It's kind of, this is where they are right now, and it feels correct. They are what they are,
yes.
And it's not that they're playing above or lower than they should be. And now that you know the flaws and where you can improve, there's time. You got time here on the actual calendar, not as many games, but improve on that. You know? Now it's about, there's no excuses because we know, go out and get some depth scoring.
Yep.
I got a pretty reliable tip that, like, the Leafs are pretty dissatisfied with their bottom 6,
as they should be.
And
I mean, if they weren't, it would be the Kyle Dubas.
well, yeah, but Adam, like, that's a great point though. Like, the Leafs are basically exactly as advertised.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to think back to what I said coming into the season. I said, look up front. They're not scoring more. They're not. Mm-hmm. Look at their back end. That should be a lot better.
And the goaltending was a question. We were excited about it.
I liked it.
But you still couldn't have gone into the season going, well, it's a lock thing.
It's
like
not a
Stolarz
lock,
played 27 games all last year.
Yes. So there was a question of, okay, so there's 82 games. We know he can play this many and Wool can play this many. And there's like 20, 25 games left over.
Yes.
We're going to have to figure that out. But it's gone probably better than expected. The top guys are scoring like crazy.
Wall, by the way, has already played 5 more games than he did all of last season.
Hilarious. And I'm surprised it's only that many. And the bottom 6, while we all agree that it is not good enough, the team, as far as I can tell, knows that. Not every team knows their flaws. And not every team does something about it.
Right.
We talk about it all the time. Like, the worst teams in the NHL aren't the teams that are just at the bottom of the standings. The worst teams of the NHL are the ones where you look at them and go, what are you? The Leafs, I think, are exactly as they're built, which I think that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. There's no surprises there. You know, you hope that a positive emerges.
Sure.
I don't think they counted on Bobby McMahon scoring at this kind of pace. I don't know if they thought Matthew Nyes quite had this in him.
Yet, anyway.
Yeah. Like there are some good surprises here, but you know, when the playoffs roll around, is Devontae Smith-Pelly coming through the door? Is Sean Bergenheim coming through the door? Is Fernando Pisani coming through the door? Like,
Matt Bolesky.
Like I'm trying to think of
The playoff darling.
bottom 6 dude who chips in 6 or 7 goals.
Calle Yarncroke.
Yarncroke was part of that Nashville Predators team that went all the way to the Stanley Cup final against the Penguins.
Yep.
He only had 7 points, 2 goals. But like it's crazy. Game 6 of the Stanley Cup final is on YouTube, and every opening draw is Sidney Crosby versus Yarncroke. It's crazy. Like it's not like Yarncroke played poorly under Keefe. At times he did, for sure. His best offensive totals were under Keefe, but I kind of feel like him and Berube would get along really great. I hope he's back in the lineup, because if he can't play this season, I kind of think they need 2.
I agree with you. They'll also probably want to add on the back end, because I think that maybe they could use a little more depth defense. So it's a question of what are they going to value and what are they going to need. But yeah.
Boy, Benoit Myers did not have a good night against Vancouver.
Nope. Thank goodness for Joseph Woll on that one. Okay, so then here's my next question. If you guys, I would like to move off of the Leafs and onto the wider NHL. Do you have anything else to add to the Leafs for now?
Shout out Vancouver.
Oh, I thought they played great.
They've been playing great hockey. Since Quinn Hughes went out. They stole a win the other night, and then Saturday they looked great. And Demko and Lankinen are both at like Vezina caliber level, which is crazy.
Demko's out now, potentially.
Yeah, but who knows what that injury is going to be? I don't know. He's going to have a couple weeks to repair here. But I just mean like the games he was in over the last week or so, both of them have been unbelievable. And Vancouver's look good. They look like the team from last year that's playing really good defense and then getting a timely goal here or there.